Andrew Mackie and Tom Lonergan both joined Geelong from the 2002 National Draft. Both finished their decorated playing careers on preliminary final weekend last year. In between, they played 188 games in the same team, winning 113 times at the extraordinary rate of 74%. Welcome, boys. What an association.
Thanks for having us, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
You two have lasted better than most marriages, haven't you? Go back to 2002, that's 15 years, all those times you spend together, training, meetings, trips away and playing. Do you appreciate how lucky you've been? Notwithstanding the fact, Tom, that you lost a kidney along the way, but do you appreciate how lucky you've been to have played at Geelong in this era?
Oh, yeah, it's not lost on me. I certainly, you know, when you come out of the game, all you want to be remembered for is to be a premiership player and be part of a successful team and culture and club. And I've got no doubt, as individuals, we come out of it looking better because of the fact we've been at the Geelong Footy Club for the last 15 years.
Well, Andrew, you've played in 207 wins from 280 games. That's an amazing strike rate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's worked out all right. It's
I'll give you a sobering thought for both of you. Trevor Barker played 230 games for St Kilda and was a great player, never played a final.
Yeah, mate, we've had it. Teammates, coaches, we've had a great ride the last, decade and a half, probably the last 10 years in particular. And to be part of that is something that, we obviously think about every day. Probably now you remember the good times, the fact that we're out of footy now. From a playing point of view, you do remember those good times that we were able to have out in the field.
As Max said, we never took it for granted what we, how lucky we were to play in such big games and win a lot of those games.
Tommy, you played 95 games at Skilled Stadium and won 84 of them.
Yeah.
That's 88%. I mean, is it the ground? Is it the crowd? Is it the fact that you just played in a great team?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all those things. The ground definitely does help. I think training on it week in, week out, and especially as a defender, knowing where to set up, position yourself, certainly does help. But, yeah, as Max said earlier, we come through when there's a number of great players we had playing with us and all wanting to win, especially in front of our home crowd. And, the way that Cookie and Bomber and Frank had, brought the club back from where it was, it was just a great vibe, great place to be around.
Andrew, I sense that if, in your skin, that if you were going to the ground on any given day, that whatever situation you got in during the game, you'd believe that you could get out of it, that the team was that good that it probably would and probably should win.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely had that belief, and it was powerful when you go into games with that mindset. I think we almost love the fact we had Target in our back for a lot of that time when you've been successful and the next year every team's out to get you and individually there's more plans in place for certain players. I think we love the fact that they were coming to get us and we love the fact that we would be able to try and, there was a few times, more often than not, we found ourselves getting out of trouble, which, maybe not great for the fans, but we loved the fact that we pushed through that, I suppose, that target on our backs and were able to come out the other side.
Tommy, do you think you've been disappointing in the last few years in finals? Always good enough to get there? You've played in 4 losing preliminary finals.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's probably one regret. I'm sure Mac probably feels the same way since 2011, not being able to get back to a grand final since then.
Number 4, the jumper that you wore for so long.
Yep.
It's been handed over to a little bloke who is back in town.
Yeah.
What's the impact been like since Gary came back to Geelong?
He's been great. I'm lucky enough to still be at the footy club working and the way he's dealing with younger players and interacting and just being a leader around the group. And he's come in he's there to win a premiership and you can just see it in him. So hopefully his body holds up and things work out well for him and the team. Did
he ring you about wanting number 4?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was pretty... he was 4th with me, 4th right, and said, I think he ideally might have liked to wear number 5, but...
you think he would have, do you?
Oh, I think he might have, yeah. He didn't tell me that, but I reckon he might have. and obviously Nakaiko too wears that, but he said he'd love to wear number 4, and I was more than happy to have him. My kids would be happy. They've got a little champ number now, so they'll be happy.
He's quite discreet today, Tommy, isn't he? What about that reputation for being lippy on the ground? Is that true? Does he deserve that?
Yeah, I think it's true, no doubt. I think he's a bit more lippy early in his career, sort of during that mid period. He went quiet, and then the back end he started getting going again.
You remember any of his good lines?
One stands out. It was actually last year. We were over in Perth playing West Coast. Quarter time, they jumped us 3 goals up, and we were feeling a bit flat. Walking back to the quarter time huddle, and there's a couple of West Coast players just standing around together, and one of them said...
They have names?
I think Lacroix was one. I can't remember the other two. And one of them go, "You're not so lippy now, are you?" And he goes, "I wouldn't waste it on you anyway."
Is that
you
true?
might have to edit that out, but that was
Andrew?
definitely true.
Yeah. It was. Whenever you talk about things that since we've finished footy, we've done a couple of things, and it always gets brought up. For one, there was always a line for me. Always, there was a bit of method to my talking to players. I felt like I could get a little edge on some of them, and I'm not the most intimidating guy from a put the head over the footy sense. I'm not a Joel Selwood, or I can't do what Tommy does to the big forwards, but I could play my role in trying to get inside players' heads at times. And for me, it was as much about, I never went in with a plan, but sometimes I felt like I could get through to a few players. And, there's times after games I've driven up and think, what was I saying there? But there's always a line for me. I'd
Did
never...
you cross it?
No, I don't think I did, no. I was always conscious of that. I'm a carer, a people carer in general, and there was probably once where I thought, that was probably... And it was a bit something that had obviously happened to the player and I didn't know. And I'd text him after the game and said, look, wasn't aware of...
What did you say to him?
What had gone on. Oh, no, it was something he had on his boots, and it was a meaning that was pretty close to him, and I didn't understand what was that. So cleared it up, and I sent a message and apologised if there's any misunderstanding.
OK. You played 280 games. Now, you probably came into the system at about, 75 kilos?
Yeah. Less than that. Yeah.
You're either very resilient or very savvy about where to go to on the footy ground.
A bit of both, Mike. Yeah, you got to be smart these days. Work smarter, not harder, they say. But I battled with the weight early.
What were you?
71.
71 when you started your league career.
Yeah. Mate, I was coming from a fair way back. We were both out of school footy, and I'd never been in the pathway, the AFL under-18 type pathway. So we were both very raw coming into the system, and it probably took a while. Well, definitely physically. I was probably still last year when I was playing, still had upside in what I should be as a physical athlete, professional athlete. But we understood what we had to do to get the job done, and that was probably... I tried to use my smarts as much as anything around the footy field and try to do that, before my opponents at times. Tommy lost a kidney in your 7th game, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
My view is that the public doesn't appreciate how brave this bloke's been for his career.
Yeah, I hope they do, because certainly, since that, and then you see all the times that he's going back with a flight. And look, it wasn't lost on us as a playing group. It was shown regularly in edits that on a Monday after the game, Tommy coming back with a flight and doing things that he just shouldn't be doing, given that he almost died on the footy field. So
that's true, isn't it? That you could have died, couldn't you, with that as a result of that injury?
So they tell me. Yeah.
Were you in a coma for 4 days?
Yeah, it was about 4 days. Yeah.
And your blood supply was replaced 3 times?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
I suspect it's painful for you to keep focusing on the kidney injury, but the details of my memory is that you were playing Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I think Brad Miller. And was Matthew Egan with him?
Yeah.
And they were coming from behind you.
Yeah.
And crashed into you. Did you know at the time that it was serious?
Oh, look, I hadn't felt that pain ever before in my life. It was just went through my whole body. It was just a rush, just a big rush. I couldn't pinpoint it. I didn't know, what it was. It wasn't just a corky. I remember one of the old trainers he was close by at the time. He ran over to me and he goes, "I think you're just winded, mate." And I said, "Mate, you better piss off because I'm not winded. Something's going on." Like I knew something that was up straight away. And I remember walking across into the change rooms and just.
So you left the ground straight away?
Yeah, straight away. I wasn't taking no part. I couldn't hardly even get up. I just wanted to vomit. And when I got in the change rooms, I did that, and it was just black. It was black vomit. Yeah.
Wow.
So I called the doc over, and he was like, "Right, we better get in the hospital." And yeah, I went, and had to wait for the bloke to scan me because he was at the game watching the footy. Yeah. So I had to wait till about 6 o'clock.
There was a draw that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Andrew?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So waited for him to come, and then scans, and I don't think nothing really showed up in the scans, but I was obviously hemorrhaging inside, and 5 a.m. the next morning, and all went pear-shaped.
That's when you lapsed into a coma.
Yeah, well, that's when the buzzers all went off. Blood pressure dropped, pulse raced, docs all come in and said, "We've got to get you to theatre." And at that point, Mum and Dad were up in Yarrawonga, so they'd watch my brother play on the Saturday, and I rang them on the Saturday night and said, "Look, I think I just got bruised ribs or whatever, and I'm just staying in for observation." And so I had to ring them on the way into theatre and tell them I'm going in. So, yep.
And you knew then they were going to take the kidney out?
No. I didn't know what was going on. So head was in the clouds because I was on morphine. I was feeling great, but obviously something was going on with my body, and they didn't know themselves, so they had to rip me open and see what was going on. And that's where all the blood, there was just blood everywhere, and the kidney was probably the least of the problems.
Can you remember when you came back? I think you were out of the game almost more than 18 months, weren't you?
Mm.
How difficult was it to conquer that, I don't know if it's fear, but concern about what might happen to you?
Look, I think physically we all repair, right? Yeah, so I knew I was going to get over, what had happened from a physical point of view. I suppose it was more a mental battle of dealing with, a high ball or worrying about, someone crashing in the back. So working through that was a process, and it's still thought about it towards the back end of my career. But look, I just try to put it out of my mind and play footy, not worry about it too much.
Did you wear a guard?
Yeah, I did the first year and a half, but it was too uncomfortable, and it reminded me too much of what was at stake, so I just ripped it off.
So was there a moment that you can recall where you were perched under it and you knew you had nowhere to go, and there could have been anyone of up to 6 or 8 blokes coming from behind? Was there a moment that, can you remember?
During my career, after that? Yeah, there was a couple. Yeah, definitely. There was one last year against Carlton where I got hit in the back, which I was a bit worried. There was a couple before that, but it was, I always thought that what had happened was a freak accident. I thought the likelihood of it actually happening again were really slim, and I just tried not to think about it. It was probably a bit
Andrew,
stupid.
you didn't play that game against Melbourne
No.
when Tommy was injured.
Yep.
Can you remember, was there a sense of blokes wondering about their commitment to the game when you realised how seriously he'd been hurt?
It took its toll on players, especially the ones that were really close with Tommy. To see, in a lot of ways, when Tommy was obviously in a coma, so he didn't know. When you go in and see a bloke with all the cords and stuff that people have seen people in coma, it's not good to look at. And then, to see what mum and dad and family and brothers and sisters deal with, and it did take its toll. Just the passion for the game and the love for playing footy overrides, especially, well, for you. You know, at the end of the day, you kept playing, had the choice, probably should have stopped maybe, you were getting told to.
Yeah. What, at home? Were you being...
Oh, there's a number of people, yeah. I had a few letters.
Yeah, did you?
People within the club.
But people concerned for you?
Yeah, I think just concerned for my well-being.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I was young and stupid and hadn't proven myself. I hadn't any respect at that point. And at the end of the day, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life if it was taken away from me. So that in itself gave me a great perspective of how quickly things could be taken away. And I suppose from then on, you know, the training habits and things change of how I dealt with and how I went about my day-to-day life as an elite footballer. Because early days they were a bit scratchy.
You were a while making your mark at Geelong, weren't you?
Yeah.
Someone told me, we don't always get these right, Tommy, but someone told me that Bomber Thompson suggested... What are you laughing at, Andrew?
I think I know what you're going to say.
Bomber Thompson suggested you might have been the worst recruit in the history of the game. Sounds a bit outlandish to me, but is that true?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I was pretty rubbish early days. Yeah,
Attitude or...
it was a combination. I think I was immature physically, mentally. I was a laid-back kid who just was happy going about life. I was happy being there. So when it came to playing, and that's the sort of attitude I took, just happy being there and just cruise through games and wasn't getting the most out of myself. I had a few stern conversations with Bomber over the journey, and he was great for me in my early days. He just rode me. I think he rode Mac a bit too, but got the most out of me. You know, as I said, my training habits weren't up to scratch, and it took a while for the penny to drop. So I'm glad that I had him and, you know, Brendan McCartney, these guys that were there to put the work into me.
Did Brendan McCartney nearly get you to Footscray at one point?
Yeah, it was pretty close. Yeah. He sent a text message to me towards the end of 2014, and we had a chat after the season, and I was pretty close.
So what made you stay?
Oh, look, at the end of the day, it was purely probably a money decision. I mean, a deal like that, it was life-changing. It was a Godfather deal. I was 30. It was like...
What the doggies offer was?
Yeah, it was...
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
You want to share it with me?
Yeah, it was a 3-year 1.6.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
It's not bad at 30, is it?
Yeah, 30. I mean, I hadn't seen that money before. As I said, I'd come from, you know, I started making a little bit of money towards the back end, sort of in the late 20s, and to have a deal like that placed in front of me was bloody hard. Hard to choose. I had him, Mac, and a few other mates come over, and we just went through the pros and cons, spoke about it with family, and in the end, it was a decision. I was really proud to stay, be a one-club player, and
What was your advice?
We laid it all out there. I was caring for Tom, the person, the mate, and tried to take away the teammate side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great opportunity. I probably, at the end of the day, was more about what do you want to be known as in the future, and I suppose friendships and camaraderie, and, you know, do you want to go and meet another 50 guys and start not be mates with them, but you've got to invest into, you know, you got 3 years playing with him. You want to know about him. You need to get to know him, and there's more to just rocking up and playing.
It's difficult, I suspect, from where you sit to watch Bombers' problems that exist at the moment. Do either of you have any contact with him, and how do you read his situation?
No, look, we had a lunch before Christmas where he came. I sat next to him, actually, and spoke about old times. Spoke about the stuff that I just told you, how you used to ride me, and I'm glad that you did, but obviously I wasn't to know what was to unfold after that. But look, he was a guy that was a mentor to both of us, and we wish him nothing but the best. So, yeah.
Does it concern you, Andrew?
Oh, yeah, it concerns me what I'm hearing and what you read about. Obviously, like I said before, you care about people that you have been a part of your life, and he's one of them.
Look, he's always been...
He's a quirky sort of customer.
Yeah.
Even when he was at his peak of his powers coaching, he's always had a lateral thinking to him and quirky sort of mind, people that know him. But he seemed okay. He seemed okay that day.
The 3 premierships, does one stand out? Can you grade your premierships, or are they all on a level of their own?
No, I can't. I've been asked it before, but they're all different in their own right. Yeah, they're all special, and they're all got great stories. Just the fact that we're just so competitive. Like we, as individuals, collectively as a team, we were competitive blokes. And you know, some of our training sessions, mate, there were fisticuffs and
really?
All sorts going on. Just that's what sort of players we had, and so to know that you could then achieve something together and know that that's what we set out to do, and when the siren goes on that day, it's an amazing feeling, and the emotion that flows from it, and you know, the next few days in particular are just, you're on cloud 9.
Well, you had 2 flags before Tommy got his. Did you encourage him along the way to stick at it and persist?
It was a massive driving factor. I think for everyone at the footy club wanted to see Tommy win a premiership.
How did you feel being part of this group but not being part of the premiership teams at that time?
Yeah, look, it was tough. You know, 07, I was coming back from the injury. 08, got the opportunity, but we couldn't deliver out here, and that was hard to get over. We were expected to win, and we couldn't get the job done. Hawthorn obviously were better on the day, and then to be out of the side when they won in 09, watching from the stands is sort of, you know, it was mixed feelings. But, you know, to then get another opportunity in 2011, I was just thinking before, I can remember after, you know, Mac had won 2 after 09, and we're walking up to do a weight session or a training session, and he said, "You just got to taste one of these." An unbelievable feeling, and it stayed with me. It was like, I just want to be part of this. So, you know, for that to happen in 2011, when we were written off really too old, too slow, and Scotty come in his first year, and to achieve what we did it was bloody special.
You're going to miss it, you boys? Well, here we are over the top of the G, and this is the first time that we're a week away from the start of a season, and you're not going to be involved.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to happen with the rest of your life?
It's a good question. We're busy with kids at the minute. We're loving it. Yeah, I've got 3 kids and 1 on the way, and just loving being a bigger part of their life. Obviously, with footy, we've been really lucky. Living in Geelong, we live a couple of minutes from work, and we just love being there. It's been a great town to live and play footy, and just looking forward to whatever is next, whatever that may be, Mike.
Tommy?
Yeah, look, I'll no doubt miss, I think, the moments in games where you feel like you could have a real influence on the game. So sitting in the stands and knowing that, right, I can really stamp my authority here and be really valuable to the team at this point. MCG, a big crowd that you can actually influence, and just, you know, those hairs stand up on the back of your neck.
Let me ask you about one situation. Last year, I remember that game against the Swans, and several times the ball would come out and you'd be one-on-one with Buddy.
Yeah.
What's the feeling then?
Yeah.
I mean, given that he can do almost miraculous things, how do you feel in that situation?
Yeah, look, he's a super player, and as you said, we've seen the amazing things he can do. I thought, for me and Buddy, I thought physically we matched up well on each other. He was a little bit taller and heavier, but I felt my strength was I could, you know, beat him in one-on-ones, or at least, you know, negate him in one-on-ones. And, you know, I took that template early in my career and knew that if I could start well on him, win a key one-on-one early in a game, that set me up for the day. I still remember the first time I played on him. I think it was 09, it must have been early 09. He'd just come off the back of kicking 100 the year before, and I walked up to him and he started laughing, and I think he might have said, "What's your name?" And I was like, I sort of laughed to myself a bit, and I was like, well, one thing for sure, you'll know my name by the end of the day.
Good boy.
And so I, you know, had that inner resolve that I'd beat him. I knew he had a bit of bravado, and that was good.
You know, the Buddy rivalry speaks for itself. It was great for footy fans in general. And I think they've got each other's respect now. Tommy didn't play the game. We beat the Swans in the semi-final, and Buddy played. Tommy was out with food poisoning or whatever it was, and buddy asked about him and said, wish him all the best. And
Did he? Yeah, nice. That game at Geelong last year, late in the season, Swans kicked 16 goals and win comfortably. He kicks 1. No Brownlow votes. Does the lack of recognition irritate you?
Not really, no. No, look, as long as I had the respect of my teammates, that was the main thing that, you know, that I wanted. And look, I just wanted to win. Like, I just wanted to win and get back to playing in a grand final and winning another premiership. And if I could just do my role, help the team, then, you know, that was my job. It didn't bother me. I tried to get a little bit more attacking as my career went on. I think I only got in the 20s once or twice, but look, it didn't bother me.
He gets set by half-time, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't play on anyone.
Did you hear that, Andrew?
the opposition were happy to let him have the 20. Don't worry about that.
What's your favourite footy memory?
Oh,
Off the ground, on the ground, people, events?
there's not one that stands out. I'll miss I used to love the 5, 10, 20 minutes after a game when you've won the game. Nothing better. That feeling of, you know, so much hard work and everything goes into just winning one game. And, you know, there's so much byplay within that game, the 2 hours. It's just, as a player, you've got to move on quickly after it. So it's the only time you actually are content with what you've been able to do. And regardless of whether you had a good game yourself or you struggled or whatever it was, the fact that the team had won, that was just, to me, that was the best time.
Now, I want to ask you this because you're still working at the footy club. Tommy, rank these blokes for me. Ablett, Selwood, Dangerfield.
Oh, look, they're all Jets, aren't they? For me, I've played with him the longest, I feel Joel Selwood, the way he can put the team on the back and, you know, bring his teammates along for the ride, I think he's the best player I reckon I've played with. I feel just the different things he can do. He probably hasn't got the flair of danger of Gaz, but he's an outstanding player, outstanding. And yeah, it's been great to play with him and the other guys as well.
Now, boys, look, it's I reckon Stephen Wells must wake up, reflect on the 2002 draft and think how well he's done. His first 2 picks are Mackie and Lonergan. They play almost 500 games between them and win 4 flags. Been great careers for both of you. You're both entitled to be really proud of what you've done. Great to have you on.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Mike. Good on you.